This is Honey, and I first met her in December of 2021 during an outreach trip with a group that I used to volunteer with, and this was out in Rome, Georgia, or Floyd County. Unfortunately, out there, a lot of people don't care for their dogs like maybe you and I do, and so we would go out there to educate, get more dogs and cats spayed and neutered, provide food, shelter, water, medication, etc. At the time, Honey was tethered in her front yard with no access to water, and she was so sweet, so incredibly sweet and very submissive. Myself, my sister, and another volunteer actually cried when petting her just because I think we all fell in love with her and she was just so incredibly sweet. It was hard to see her out there, you know, by herself and not in a home. We would do these outreach trips every 3 months, every 6 months or so, and each time we would go and visit Honey, and unfortunately her situation started to decline. In early 2022, a tether ban went into effect in Floyd County, and so what this meant was instead of her being tethered in the front yard, she was placed in a 6x6 kennel in her backyard. So a tether ban is a good thing, but at the same time, she was now confined to a small space by herself 24/7. Each time we went out there and visited her, whether it was 30 degrees or 90 degrees, she was out there, usually without water and nothing to keep her warm or cool. Her kennel was filled with poop and pee. It was very dirty. She wasn't really getting any attention. She was still always really friendly, but she did start to lose weight and her mental state definitely started to decline. I would say that she was experiencing kennel stress. She actually became very obsessed with a large rock. She would fixate on it and play with it, and she would anxiously lick it. It was honestly hard to see. Our group reported her situation to animal control. Even the police at one time, the police came out there and saw what she looked like, saw her living conditions. I even offered the owner money, hundreds of dollars, to buy Honey so I could take her home, but she said no, and that her kids love her too much. Maybe in 2023 or early 2024, the owner's house caught fire, and they left the house, but they left Honey in the kennel in the backyard and expected their neighbor to take care of her. So I don't know how often she was being fed, definitely not getting any attention, wasn't getting regular water changes, anything like that. And so you can imagine that her situation continued to decline. And I know that this is already a long story, but there is so much more to it. But basically, every time that I would see her, I would cry, I would feel defeated. I felt like I was failing her. I would get home later and cry some more. I often lost sleep over her, especially in the winter months when I knew she was sitting outside by herself on those like freezing cold nights. There were so many times that I would visualize me driving out there and putting her in my car and taking her home with me. So yeah, we'll get to that. Well, in July of 2024, we saw her out there again. Actually didn't pet her or really interact with her that time. We just took photos of her situation because it was pretty bad, and we were going to use those photos to continue to report her situation to animal control. Well, a couple of weeks after that, I got a text from the neighbor who was taking care of Honey. Honey was actually now in her backyard, and it said, "Hey Layla, are you still interested in Honey?" And this was just random, like 4 p.m. on a Monday, and of course, I said yes. I live a couple of hours away from Rome, Georgia, so big shout out to Sandy, who went out that night within a couple of hours and picked her up herself, and then, you know, the next day got her to the vet and got her checked out, and then we picked her up. So my little visualization, my manifestation, if you will, finally came true. By this point, she was very skinny from lack of nutrition, but she also had whipworm. By some miracle, she did not have heartworm. And I honestly think that was because of us and just the volunteer group in general, because each time that we would go out there, we were making sure she was getting heartworm prevention, flea, you know, anything for fleas and ticks. And then my sister was spending her own money to send heartworm prevention meds to the neighbor to give to Honey. But I was so surprised that she didn't have heartworm, and we're grateful for that. Taking her home, I was of course really excited and happy that we had her, but I was so nervous and anxious. I thought she would be really, really challenging since she was used to living outside, but she adapted really quickly. She's been a great dog from the beginning, and it's only gotten better from there. She did, of course, have a couple of accidents in the house, but that's to be expected. She needed some general obedience training and just to work on a couple of things, but for the most part, she was just amazing. And you know, we just slowly let her experience new things, new toys, lots of new toys. She loves her little stuffies. Trying new fruits and veggies, new noises, even small things like letting her sniff a new bag of coffee beans, or if I'm opening a package, just letting her take it all in slowly. It was honestly an honor to be able to experience her experiencing those things for the first time, at least what I think was the first time. At that time, my now husband was really not big on having a dog, like at all. So we agreed that she would be our foster dog, and it would just be temporary. You know, she'd be available for adoption, and she was actually available for adoption for over a year and a half. During that time, we did work on her training, and big shout out to Lori, who volunteered a lot of her time and a lot of her effort to helping Honey and us with her training. It only made her better, of course, and she just became so much more confident. And both my husband and I also became more confident in handling her and just being a, you know, good quality dog owner. But there was still no interest in anyone adopting Honey. She did have one adoption application in December of 2025, but that quickly fell through. And by that point, I was completely attached to Honey. And I realized, you know, after receiving that application and literally crying the second after reading it, I realized that I was afraid to let her go because I'm gonna cry. I don't want anybody to hurt her again or to abandon her again. And I know 100% that if she's with me, that won't happen. So I stopped posting her, I stopped promoting her, and we officially adopted her in February of 2026. And while my husband will never be a dog person, animal person in general like I am, he does absolutely love her and cares about her, and she loves him so much. I always say that she loves him more than she loves me, which that's how it always works, right? But she's just been such a joy in our life. She makes us laugh every single day. She's so funny. We take her on a walk in our neighborhood every day. She's made some doggy friends. She's developed a bit of a relationship with a few people in our neighborhood. They know her name, they'll pet her. She's even built a relationship with a cat that's outside in our neighborhood. She's been on a 6-hour road trip. She's been to the beach, and while she didn't love it so much, it's just been amazing to see her transform and be happy and healthy. So that's Honey's story, and I truly believe she was meant to be in my life. I say to her all the time, "You're the Honey, and we saved you," you know, but truly so many people were involved in saving her and just involved in her story, and I hope she never ever thinks of her past. And I'm just so very grateful to have her here with me and know that she's safe and happy.